All right, I'm going to vent some of my frustration with some complaints that I have in life. Now, some of these things require us to find alternative solutions. Some of these things are things that are need a societal shift that will have to happen over time. But all of these things are inconvenient in their own way. And so I thought I would complain a little bit here. Now, my first complaint revolves around something I discovered last year. I discovered that when I go on a 24 to a 48-hour fast, I often feel so good toward the end of the fast, like a happy-go-lucky feeling. Things don't bother me as much. Toward the end of that fast, I discover that, my hours have been cut at work. It happened one time actually. Or that my girlfriend breaks up with me, or that my computer breaks down, my car breaks down. I discover family trouble. Yeah, it's still trouble, but I can actually problem solve and power my way through it. When I'm on a full stomach, things like that tend to bother me. I feel very heavy-hearted when I have a full stomach for some reason. I put a lot of weight on things that don't really deserve it. That's good. The problem is it's a very fleeting situation to be at a 48-hour fast, right? You can't stop eating altogether, right? You can enjoy a 48-hour fast every 48 hours, right? Not indefinitely, right? And I have never found a solution around that. My only solution is to eat one big meal every day and enjoy like maybe 8 to 12 hours of feel good, right? And the rest of the time, well, another 8 hours I'm sleeping. So I guess that's an okay solution. But it still feels like imperfect, right? I wish I could feel that 24-hour fast high all the time, right? I haven't figured out a way to do that. Okay, now another thing that often makes me feel good is when I get sleep deprived. I know it's weird, but if it's been 24 hours since I last woke up, again, I get this lightweight feeling, like nothing could bother me. And I feel like my social skills are enhanced a lot if I go out when I'm sleep deprived because I'm not talkative. I lose all that energy, if you will, right? It's kind of like being high on marijuana. I've tried marijuana a few times, so I know how that feels. I would equate sleep deprivation to a high kind of feeling. Fasting is more like a drunk kind of feeling, right? If I had to compare them, fasting is like drunk, sleep deprivation is like high, right? I feel I can drive better when I'm sleep deprived than when I'm fasting. I wouldn't go out for a drive after a 48-hour fast, which is why I've been fasting a lot during this year because I don't have to drive, right? Next year or after the pandemic, when we return to going back to the office, that might be a little bit more challenging. But again, you run into that same problem, right? You can only feel a 24-hour sleep deprivation every 24 hours, right? You can't stay there forever, right? I hate the fact that I can't stay there, right? Okay, onward. Now, the next few that I'm going to talk about probably have some solution to it. So prior to the pandemic, well, I still do, but I love to play backgammon. I got to do it online now, which is nice for one reason that I'll get to in a second. But prior to the pandemic, I would go to a backgammon club. And I was kind of mid-range in terms of my level playing against some of these people. The problem is that when I go to the tournament or the events or the tournament or even just the local clubs, people want to bet money playing backgammon. Now, I'm not religious about not gambling or anything, but sometimes the amounts that are bet are just out of my budget. Or, more accurately, they're enough that they limit how much I could play. And I find that annoying because I think of backgammon as a social event, as a way to connect with people more. Now, part of the reason I moved out here to the country is that people don't feel the need to bet money playing backgammon or anything really. In Seattle, I used to, if I remember correctly, some of the games at backgammon, people would want to bet $5 a point. In backgammon, there's a doubling cube, and sometimes those games get doubled quite a bit, and it's just outside of my budget. I want to be playing it more. I'm not against gambling or anything, but I would love to be playing it more. Okay, so that's more of an attitude shift that's probably going to change over time. A lot of those players that I play against are much older than me. That's probably the problem. Now, at the beginning of the pandemic, I broke up with my girlfriend, and I realized how much I loved my single life. Prior to the pandemic, I was thinking about proposing to my girlfriend. I actually had mapped it out that I would propose to her around the time of the conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn. That was on December 21st. But I broke up with her, and I realized all the things I wanted to do as a single guy. Now, during the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic, you could only order takeout from the restaurant in Seattle. And I went out to a couple restaurants, and I discovered a Thai restaurant that I really liked. Now, the problem is, one of the waitresses there, I think she has a crush on me, and one time I overheard her mother refer to me almost like a son-in-law. Now, I love my single life. I love connecting with people too. Now, why does every connection have to be marriage material or some kind of commitment material, right? I want to have a connection in order to network with people, right? For example, to hear about opportunities in the area, to hear about events in the area. I don't want every connection to be about marriage and relationships. And that's just very frustrating. Very, very, very frustrating for me. 7 years ago, I was dating another girl. She wanted children, and we broke up as a result of that. 5 years ago, there was another girl who got really jealous because I was having time by myself. She accused me of dating another girl when it was really... the other girl was me spending time on my personal hobbies, but she got really jealous of that. So why does everything have to be relationship/marriage material? Why? Okay, onward with the relationships. Sometimes I've had coworkers who have broken up with their significant others. I had one coworker who got divorced during the time I was working with him, and people show a lot of sympathy for stuff like that. Like my coworker who had broken up with his girlfriend, he was late for a meeting one time. It was a very important meeting, actually. And when he showed up, he explained that he had broken up with his girlfriend the night before, and he couldn't sleep, and he was late by half a day to work that day. And as soon as he said he broke up with his girlfriend, everybody just kind of accepted it. You see, there are times when I've run into other trouble where I wish I could take a day off just to sort out my mental health, right? One time I had my car broken into. I've had my computer stolen. I've had cars that broke down, right? I've had all sorts of life trouble, right? One time, somebody confused me with somebody else and was trying to collect a debt from me for a big amount too. Big headache sorting that out. Earlier this year, somebody used my name to claim unemployment, to file taxes, right? See, nobody would give me sympathy if I wanted to take a day off to sort out my mental health after dealing with that, right? But if it's a breakup with a girl, I don't know why. I really don't. Okay, now last year, at the end of last year, when Trump was not accepting defeat and he would go out to play golf, I was more upset about him playing golf because golf takes up a lot of real estate, and it makes me wonder why we have people playing golf, especially the President of the United States, setting an example by playing golf when we could be using that space to grow some herbal medicine to deal with COVID-19, right? It really upset me when I thought of it in those regards, right? At least he should be setting a good example, right? And I don't know why the obsession with golf. I really don't. Now, during the pandemic, there's a lot of people who are using mobile payments and not using good old cold hard cash, right? Especially gold and silver, right? Because they don't want to... actually, gold and silver would probably kill viruses on their surfaces. I have a bottle of hand sanitizer here that's made of silver, actually, believe it or not. But, so you go onto mobile pay, and no matter what you're trying to buy or sell, the first thing it asks you is if you want to give a tip. I really hate that. It's bad enough that we have a tipping culture in our restaurants. I think tipping really propagates prejudice, right? You work at a restaurant, you see somebody you think is not going to tip, it's going to affect your service, right? I know this because one of my favorite things to do, getting back to the relationship matters, one of my favorite things to do is to go out as a solo sexual on Valentine's Day. It rarely turns out well. People have prejudice about the people who do that, and well, maybe not so much here in this small town. But try doing that in a New York or Seattle or a big city like that. Give it a try. It's hard for you probably don't want to hear me talk about it. Give it a try. Now, you would have thought this would have ended many decades ago. See, in the 90s, I was a kid when this happened. Denny's got sued because of a problem just like that. People would turn away others because, well, they assumed they wouldn't tip, and or they would give subpar service. And sure enough, they wouldn't tip, right? You would have thought that would have been the end of tipping by then, but nope. They just papered over it, right? They paid out whatever amount that was and shushed them up, and 30 years later, we're still dealing with tipping, and now the pandemic has made it a heck of a lot worse, right? Anyways, just a 15-minute video of me complaining because life is too good, right? These little details just really annoy me because life is so good at the moment, right? Thanks for watching.